The moment that changed my life did not arrive with noise, drama, or warning. It came quietly, almost politely, between the cereal aisle and the frozen food section of a grocery store on a Tuesday that was supposed to mean nothing. The kind of day you forget as soon as it ends. I was standing there under cold fluorescent lights, holding a plastic basket with half-price bread, instant noodles, and a dented can of soup. Survival food, not living food. I remember staring at the shelves and thinking how strange it was that a whole human life could shrink down to items chosen only because they were cheap. That was when a woman stepped into my space. She didn't bump into me. She didn't hesitate either. She stopped with a certainty that made my chest tighten. Her eyes locked onto mine as if she had been searching for me across years, not grocery aisles. I felt something shift inside me before she even spoke. Then she said it. She said she knew me, not in a casual way, not with the awkward laugh of someone who has made a mistake. There was weight in her voice. Truth. The kind that lands hard, like something long overdue finally catching up. My first instinct was fear. My second was confusion. My third was a deep, unfamiliar ache that spread through my chest. I wanted to ask how. I wanted to deny it. Instead, I stood frozen. My name is Matthew, and at that time, I was a man quietly disappearing. I lived alone in a small apartment in Columbus, Ohio. It smelled faintly of old coffee and loneliness, the kind that settles into the walls and refuses to leave. I worked nights unloading trucks, slept through daylight, and avoided mirrors because they reminded me of the man I used to be. Years earlier, I had been someone with plans, someone people relied on, someone whose absence would have been noticed. Life has a way of stacking losses until standing upright feels like an achievement. My wife, Rachel, died suddenly from an undiagnosed heart condition. One moment she was laughing in our kitchen, teasing me about burning dinner, and the next she was gone. The grief bent my spine. Our son Joshua was only 6. I loved him more than my own breath, but grief does not ask permission before it wrecks everything it touches. I drank too much. I missed school events. I told myself I would do better tomorrow. Tomorrow never came. Eventually, I lost custody. Paperwork, courtrooms, quiet shame. By the time I found myself in that grocery store aisle, Joshua was living with my sister in Indiana, and I was a man defined by regret. The woman in front of me looked ordinary at first glance, the kind of person you would pass without noticing. Later, I would learn her name was Hannah. She had tired eyes, but her posture was steady, like life had tested her and she had chosen not to collapse. She told me she almost walked past me. She said she wasn't sure. She was afraid of being wrong. But something in her heart told her not to keep walking. She explained softly that she had known my family years ago through church connections in Cincinnati. She remembered Rachel. She remembered Joshua's laugh. She remembered me smiling. That last part hurt the most, because it reminded me that I had once been visible, once known, once good. I wanted to leave, to abandon my basket and disappear again. But Hannah didn't look at me with pity or judgment. She looked at me with recognition, as if she was saying, without words, that I was still human, still worth stopping for. In that grocery store aisle, surrounded by strangers who had no idea what was unfolding, something cracked open inside me. I did not know it then, but I was standing at a crossroads, and for the first time in years, I didn't turn away. Life did not magically change after that encounter. There was no sudden transformation, no instant forgiveness, no dramatic turnaround. In fact, the days that followed were harder than the ones before. Hope, once stirred, has a way of making despair louder. Hannah didn't promise to fix anything. She didn't offer money or miracles. What she offered was quieter and far more unsettling to someone like me. Belief. She reminded me of who I had been and who I could still become. She mentioned she worked with a local outreach program that helped parents reconnect with their children. They believed in restoration, not punishment. At first, I dismissed it. Failure had become my native language. I had tried programs before. I had failed before. Hope felt irresponsible. But her words followed me through my night shifts. They sat beside me in the silence before sleep. They returned when I least wanted them to. The real battle wasn't external. It was internal. It was facing the man I had become without drowning in shame. It was admitting that my pain had turned into harm, that my excuses had cost a child his father, I had to say the words I had avoided for years. I need help. I confronted my drinking. I enrolled in counseling through community church in Columbus I hadn't set foot in for years. Walking through those doors felt like stepping into a courtroom, but instead of condemnation, I found patience. Men named Thomas and Andrew sat with me week after week, listening without flinching as I unpacked my failures. They didn't rush me. They didn't rescue me. They stayed. Slowly, the fog lifted. Not all at once, but enough for me to see a narrow path forward. I stayed sober. I saved money. I learned how to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. I wrote letters to Joshua, even when I wasn't sure he would ever read them. Writing reminded me why I was fighting. Hannah checked in occasionally, never pushing, never demanding progress, always encouraging. She became a quiet thread of grace woven through a season that could have unraveled me completely. Humanity, I learned, is often not loud. It shows up consistently. With the help of the outreach program, I petitioned for supervised visitation. The paperwork was humiliating. The waiting was unbearable. Every delay felt like a verdict on my worth. But I kept showing up, even when no one was watching. Especially then. Redemption is not about erasing the past. It is about taking responsibility without letting it destroy you. Months passed. I found a better job with daylight hours. I moved into a cleaner, brighter apartment. Small changes, but meaningful ones. Proof that effort mattered. That people were paying attention. Then came the day I saw Joshua again. Joshua was taller than I remembered. His voice was lower. His eyes older. He didn't run into my arms like he used to, and that broke my heart all over again. But he stayed. He listened. He nodded when I spoke. And when he smiled, just a little, I knew I was being given something fragile. Trust. Rebuilding it was slow. Painfully slow. There were awkward silences and missed jokes. Moments when I questioned whether I deserved to be there at all. But I kept showing up. Consistency became my apology. I learned that love is not proven by promises. It is proven by presence. I found myself changing in ways I hadn't planned. I started waking up earlier, taking better care of myself, volunteering to pack food boxes for families who looked like my past. Somewhere along the way, I realized that the man standing in that grocery store all months ago had been given a choice. Run again, or stay. Today, I still shop at that same grocery store. Every time I pass the aisle where Hannah stopped me, I pause, not because I'm waiting for another miracle, but because I've learned to recognize them when they happen. My relationship with Joshua is still growing, still healing, but it is real. I am no longer invisible to myself. I have come to believe that sometimes God uses strangers to remind us of our own names, our own worth, and the future we thought we had lost. If this story reaches you in a quiet moment, know this: redemption doesn't always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it walks up to you in a grocery store and remembers you.